Hello guys, we're back with another video, and today we will be looking at the autofocus system on the Panasonic GH5. Now the GH5 is set at the native ISO of 200, and we will test the speed and reliability of the autofocus system in both well-lit and low-light conditions. I want to mention that the following tests are performed with the version 1 of the Panasonic Lumix 12-35mm f2.8. To start out, let's press the function 2 button on the right hand side of the GH5. Next, we'll select the AFF or Autofocus Flexible option. This option is good for filming in situations where the subject will move unpredictably. Our first test will be performed with the first mode, the face/eye detection mode. Now in this mode, you'll see a box and the crosshairs there, tracking and maintaining focus on the subject's face. Now as the subject moves closer to the camera, you can see it does a fairly good job of maintaining focus, and now as the subject moves from side to side in and out of frame, the GH5 struggles to maintain focus there, so that's one of its weaknesses. The GH5 actually holds up well when there's any obstruction to the subject's face, so as you can see the subject is holding his hand up there, but the GH5 still locks onto the subject's face. And surprisingly, this mode performs well in low light conditions. And moving on, we're going to press the function 2 button again and move to the next mode, which is the tracking mode. To use this, you simply tap on the screen to set a tracking point. And here you can see the subject selecting or tapping on his nose to set a tracking point. And you can see that tracking point expand and contract as the subject moves closer and further from the camera. It actually focuses a lot slower when the subject moves closer and away from the camera. Now as the subject turns or tilts from side to side, that tracking point really struggles to maintain focus, and so as you can see, the frame becomes very blurry. And now that tracking point is very easy to throw off. So we have the subject there holding his hand out. And as you can see, that tracking point just flies to the side of the screen there. So holding his hand again, he's tilting away from the camera, and now he's out of focus. And unlike the previous mode, this tracking mode actually performs a lot worse in low light. For the remainder of these tests, I'm going to set the autofocus option to Autofocus Single or AFS, and this option is good for filming in situations where the subject, or subjects in our case, are stationary. So as you can see here, we have a Nikon DSLR in the foreground and some lenses in the background. So now let's select the 225 area mode in the menu. As the name states, this mode utilizes up to 225 autofocus points. And tapping on the screen here, you can see a set of autofocus points are concentrated around the subject. As you can see, we have the GH5 set to focus. And switching over, we're going to tap focus on the lenses. There was some focus hunting there, but let's switch back focus on the Nikon here. Now there wasn't as much focus hunting, but that focus speed was still slow. And in our low light scene here, we're going to tap the focus back on the lenses. And as you would expect, that focus hunting does become worse in low light. And the same holds true when pulling focus back on the Nikon. Moving on to the next autofocus mode, let's select Custom Multi in the menu. Among the 225 autofocus points, this mode enables you to set a custom shape around your subject. Tapping around the Nikon here, you can see a cluster of autofocus points set up in the shape of a crosshairs. As you can see, we have the Nikon currently in focus, and now we're going to tap on the lenses. And as you can see, they do not seem to be pulling in focus, which is very strange. We're going to tap on the lenses again, and as you can see, this custom multi-mode still doesn't seem to work. Yeah, so this mode actually failed to focus on the background subject, which is very disappointing. Moving on to the next autofocus mode, let's select the one area mode in the menu here. And as we tap on the Nikon here, you can see a square shape specifying the area of focus. So we're going to tap on the lenses in the background here. And as you can see, this produces the same sized square shape. And then back to the Nikon. Focus speed was slow to pull the Nikon in focus, but now we're pulled focus on the lenses there. There was a slight bit of focus hunting, focusing back on the Nikon. Not as much focus hunting, but the focus speed was slow. And now in our low light scene, let's pull focus on the lenses. And as expected, the focus hunting becomes much worse. And the same holds true when pulling focus back on the Nikon. So overall, I would say this performs slightly better than the 225 area mode. For the last autofocus mode, let's select pinpoint in the menu. This mode helps you achieve a more precise focus point on your subject. Tapping around the Nikon, you see that you get a zoomed in preview of the focus area. You can also slide the cursor on the screen to specify the focus point. You do lose the zoomed in preview once you press record. Tapping on the Nikon, you get the same square focus area as in the one area mode. You can also scale the square to fit the subject. Scaling the square down to fit a smaller subject is quite difficult. I had to scale the square down, then slide it over to the lenses. And now switching over to the GH5, we're going to pull the Nikon in focus. And as you can see, the focus speed was a little slow on the Nikon. So now let's pull focus on the lenses in the background. And there was some slight focus hunting before the lenses pulled in focus. So let's repeat that and pull focus back on the Nikon. So not as much focus hunting, but the focus speed was still slow. And now in our low light scene, let's pull the focus on the lenses. And as expected, the focus hunting does become much worse in low light. So overall, I say this mode performed just as well as the one area mode. So in summary, as you saw, the GH5 autofocus system is not very good for tracking fast moving subjects. Now if you own the GH5 and you would like to use it for vlogging, I would recommend using the face/eye detection system and well-lit scenes with high contrast. Other things I would try to avoid are the tracking and custom multi autofocus modes, which you saw were very unreliable. And overall focus speed was not great, but it was consistent in some modes. And in general, the GH5 did produce a lot of focus hunting in our low light tests. If you have any questions or comments, as always, please leave those below. We're going to keep doing more videos like this, so if you'd like to stay tuned, please subscribe. Thanks again for watching, guys, and as always, happy filming.